the grief is there, and the grief takes time. And anyone who says that by X number of months after you've lost your spouse that you should be moving on is full of crap.
Hello, and welcome back to Guess Who Died, a podcast where we talk about who died and how we feel about it with Jeff, myself, Julia, and producer KC. All right, Jeff, it's been a bit since we've seen each other, so let's each bring one. There is a lot, so let's at least each start with one. So, Jeff, who died?
I'm going to go with Damond Wilson.
Oh.
Passed away at 79. I knew him as Lamont from Sanford and Son. It was a wonderful show. My grandfather watched that show, and it was hilarious. And Lamont always had to keep him straight. And he was called Dummy quite a bit by his dad in the show. But he died due to complications related to cancer, which, we haven't really heard much about him lately.
No.
And I think he became a preacher. He had done that later in life. But sad to see him go, 79 years old. Not too bad of a life there.
Yeah, I was going to say, Julia, are you familiar with Sanford and Son?
The theme song from Scrubs, where they sing a lot. Yeah.
Okay. But that's it. So you know it through a reference for another show.
Exactly.
That's fine.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
If you need a rewatch, it's worth it.
Good
It's
to know.
good.
It is. It's really good.
Well, speaking of doing a rewatch, an oldie classic, Dawson's Creek, we lost James Van Der Beek.
I said that was mine for this one.
You said you had someone else,
did,
so I
but
was letting you
I
have
did-
that one.
I did say I had someone else,
Okay.
and then the Beak
I
died.
Which I messaged our friend of the pod, Michelle, and I said, Dawson's Creek died. She said, Julia, his name is James Van Der Beek.
Let's put it this way, Julia. I have not posted on my Facebook page, and I don't know. It's not my thing. It's just not my thing. I have one. Today was my first post in probably 3 years, and it was saying farewell to the creek.
Yeah.
Because that was my jam.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
You specifically said I'm going to bring that up on the podcast today. I'm like,
Yes.
well, you didn't know.
Sorry, I didn't know.
No.
Yeah.
Because you as well aren't a Facebook person
Right.
either. But yeah, that was my college friends, my high school friends knew, and I was a Dawson kid. Did you watch the show, Julia?
No, I
okay.
tried to watch it a couple years ago, and I got through a couple episodes, and I was like, I get it. I don't need to watch the whole thing.
It was just, again, an angsty filmmaker who, the world was against him. And I was like, this is me.
Yes.
So
Oh my God. And what was the show that he played himself in? Was that Don't Trust the Bee?
Yeah, Apartment 23.
I just always loved that. He played James Van Der Beek, but it was sort of like a funny version of, he was.
And he was good. He was in Kevin Smith. I think it was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. He was like the Jay character.
Varsity Blues was good.
Yes, very good.
I saw he popped up in a video for something last year sometime, and he had that hat on. He looked really frail, and it was scary to see him like that. And I didn't know how he was doing.
It was coming, but man, he fought the valiant fight. I know I had seen a video with him recently where he talked about in his younger years, he identified as an actor. And he was like, what did that mean for me to be an actor? Then all of a sudden I became a husband, and that was who I was. And I was a husband. And then when I became a father, I was a father, and that was who my identity was. He said, but when I started this battle with my cancer, I had to get an apartment by the hospital. I had to leave my family. I was too tired to go do the pickups at school. I couldn't act anymore. And frankly, I wasn't able to give to my wife what I needed to be. And he goes, and I had to really sit with, who am I? What is my identity? This has taken everything away from me. And the message he sent out on his deathbed was, you're worthy of love no matter who you identify as or what you are. You're just worthy. And I thought, as this soul is leaving the earth, that's the message he wanted to share. And I thought it was beautiful. So very Dawson in his approach, and looking at the world as just bigger drama microcosms.
Did you see the picture floating around with Alfonso Ribeiro saying goodbye?
No.
James's wife took the picture, and it showed up on socials, and I'm like, oh.
There's been a few pictures of just friends that surrounded him in his last days, and the photos are breathtaking.
Yeah, for sure.
It's beautiful.
You see the love and just the genuine care, and
His legacy will be missed. So.
And just honestly, a reminder, I know a lot of people are saying it, but colorectal cancer the rates are rising in younger folks, and the importance of just getting checked and being on top of stuff like that. That can be part of his legacy, is us remembering to take care of ourselves.
So you want to bring
All
another
right,
one?
so
I'm
I got a
sorry,
couple.
Casey,
Got
I
it.
know,
No, don't be sorry.
I feel like I've been the one though alerting
Just
you
jump on
guys
me.
because
Yes.
I'm always like sitting there eating lunch or something, and it'll pop up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got him! I scooped you.
Yeah.
You are always the one to tell me.
Yeah.
And they've been like, what?
Yeah.
So you did say which one you were going to share
I
last.
did.
Yeah.
I did. So let me point out two others though, because they need worthy of pointing out before we go to the final, obviously. So Bob Weir died this month as
Yes.
well, founding member of Grateful Dead. There are so many folks that the Grateful Dead are just like part of their being.
Iconic,
Yeah, like deadheads are a thing, and recognizing their community and recognizing a founding member of it, we have to give credence to that. Equally so in the musical world, Brad Arnold of Three Doors Down.
Yes, that was a shock.
Also died of cancer, and being a child of the 90s, I can't pass up on bringing up Three Doors Down. They were,
Yeah.
A great group.
Yeah.
Can I throw one real quick?
Please.
I probably wouldn't necessarily be where I'm at and able to be comfortable doing what I do if it hadn't been for my chorus director, Mr. Eshelman, who we called Mr. E, passed away at 70, just a couple of, about 10 days ago.
Okay.
And meant the world. And I can't tell you how many times over the years I just mentally said thank you to him. And he meant the world to me. And he brought out the best in all of us. And he pushed us into our, out of our comfort zone in front of the audience. Yeah. And look what I do.
Look at that. I love that, Jeff. And I think that's special when you think about the show. Obviously, we're looking at pop culture and mainstream and how universally we're affected by loss. But sometimes those people regionally or locally have even more value and impact on us. So thanks for sharing Mr. E with us.
Yeah, Mr. E was awesome.
Yeah. I had a Mr. E in my life too. So yeah. Okay. Well then obviously, Julia, bring it in. Who do we have to comment on?
Moira herself. Moira Rose. Catherine O'Hara died.
Oh,
shockingly,
just
after
a
a
blow.
sudden, quick illness. I think they did end up finding
Cancer.
It was okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was something like a blood clot, but okay.
Yeah,
and
well, they're calling it. I think it wasn't an embolism caused by cancer treatment.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I mean, just iconic again, to use that word, from Home Alone to Schitt's Creek to, I mean, she was just amazing and so elegant and hilarious.
If you're someone like me who's a snob, Christopher Guest films. Oh, she was always the best. Her and Eugene in those Mighty Wind, Best in Show, Waiting for Guffman. Oh my God, she was hilarious in Waiting for Guffman.
Yeah.
Just
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.
Yes, of
Jeff.
course.
Yeah. Sally in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
When you sit and think about it, she's done so much that a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah.
And hopefully they revisit the work she's done.
Yeah.
Yeah. To see Macaulay Culkin's post, and which he posted really quickly after, which is, people don't always do that. Sometimes they take a minute to breathe, but it was just a photo of them from Home Alone and then a photo of them more recently kind of looking at each other in the same way and said, Mama, I thought we had more time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Beautiful.
I think the last time they got together was for his Star on the Walk of Fame.
Oh, okay.
And she showed up for that, and I think
I
that's what
remember
happened
that.
on
And I
game.
remember they did a Christmas commercial or something like that relatively.
I mean, yeah, they got
Yes.
back together. It was like so cool to see.
Yes.
And she'll be missed for sure.
For sure.
Absolutely. And you talk about rewatches. I can't say it enough. If you're looking for that binge, Schitt's Creek is
That
full of,
grew on me.
Yeah,
just
it
full of,
does.
full of positivity, and I think some of her best work. And I think it's the best story that she had no intention of doing it. Said, I'll film the pilot with y'all so that you can get it sold and then I'm out.
Yep.
Just what a testament, because I don't know what that show would be like
Yeah,
without Catherine. So
for sure.
It would definitely look a lot different.
Yeah.
But I think I had to, Lindsay watching it all that. She just keep rewatching every season. And finally, about the third time through, I'm like, okay, it's starting to grow on me.
Yeah.
I didn't tell her that.
Yeah.
I still was like,
I was like most, Jeff, that show was one of my save me during COVID shows.
okay. That
When
makes
we
sense.
couldn't be around people and we didn't know what to think and we were stuck in our homes. Schitt's Creek was the show that I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot because I got nothing else, left. And I just fell in love.
Problem with that show's title is I didn't know if I was allowed to say it on the radio.
That's fair. Yeah.
I mean, it was spelled different,
Yeah.
but I'm
Right.
like, I don't need to take any chances. So
Fair.
You're good here on Guess Who Died.
Exactly. All right. Well, speaking of Guess Who Died, we have a great guest coming on next to tell a little bit of his story. Casey, do you want to lead us into our guest that's coming up?
I certainly can. A longtime friend of ours. I've known for many, many years. I'm excited because when I asked him to be on the podcast, he said, well, it's been so long, I don't know what I'd have to tell anyone. And I said to him, that's exactly why you need to be on the podcast, because you need to give people a picture of what it was like then, but more importantly, what it is like today. And how do you keep your wife's legacy alive? So I'm excited to have Chuck on the show and learn a bit more about how he, a single father, raised 3 incredible young women.
looking
Can't
forward
wait
to it.
hear more. We'll be right back on Guess Who Died. Olivia's House is an independent, freestanding, nonprofit grief and loss center that supports children and their families before, during, or after a loss, all at no cost. When death enters your house, you are welcome at our house, where families are met with professional care, expert guidance, and resources for children and teens of any age. Nestled in central Pennsylvania, Olivia's House continues to be the premier independent grief and loss center.
And welcome back to Guess Who Died. Jeff, along with Julia and our producer, KC, and bringing in our guest.
We have Chuck in the studio. Chuck, welcome to the pod.
It is a pleasure to be here with you all.
A pleasure to have you. So, Chuck, this is our first time both Jeff and I meeting you. We know nothing about your story. I know you saw the title of our podcast. Our question to you is, who was it in your world that died?
About 19 years ago, my first wife and mother of our 3 daughters, she had been a stanch advocate for watching out for skin cancer. She insisted on wearing sunscreen. The kids wore sunscreen, hats outside and whatnot. And one day she complained of right upper quadrant abdominal pain, which in York County, Pennsylvania, means it's your gallbladder because diet in York County is not terrific. And so she went for an ultrasound. And the ultrasound did not show that it was her gallbladder. It showed a 6-centimeter tumor in her liver. And so fast forward, she had metastatic melanoma. And there was no known primary source of it. She was literally looked at from head to toe, inside and out. And she fought for 2.5 years for diagnosis that normally kills somebody in about 8 months. Wow. She was determined to beat this because she had a husband and 3 young daughters to raise. And so she passed away in 2006, leaving the 4 of us kind of floating in the void for a while. And we learned some interesting lessons, not the least of which is that there were our friends, there were her friends, and then there were a few people that were my friends. And they kind of changed as time developed after Susan died. And it was a learning experience. It was a growth experience. It was hell and it was wonderful all at the same time. And I realized that people listening are saying, he's out of his mind. He said it was wonderful. But there were good things that came out of Susan's death. Not immediately, obviously, but over the years. And one of the things that came out of it was the grief management program that we got into through Olivia's House in York, Pennsylvania. Wonderful, wonderful program called Hearts Can Heal. And they helped us to heal. And they helped direct us because we were with other survivors, people who had lost a spouse or a boyfriend or girlfriend or mom or dad. And we were not alone, and we could share that, and we could get strength from that.
And thank you for being here today, because that's what we want for our listeners who maybe don't have a program like that near them, or they're an adult, or whatever that looks like, is just even listening to this and hearing your voice helps you feel a sense of community, even though it was pain that brought you together. So tell us, so Susan was your wife's name.
Yes.
How old were these girls? Tell us a little bit about your family.
Susan and I met. I was in residency training in Washington, D.C. She was a nurse working in the hospital that I was training. I was smitten by her. I was an idiot in that I noticed that she was wearing a ring on her right hand, and of course I assumed that meant she was married or otherwise taken. I still wanted to meet her, and so I said, I would like to go out to breakfast with you if it's okay with your husband. And there was this blank look, and she said, I'm not married. I said, but you're wearing a ring. And I knew I loved her from that moment when she said, well, you're an idiot. It's a ring on my right hand.
I love it.
You said that. I'm like, wait a second.
I had to think too. I was like, which one's the marriage? I'll just listen to the story. Oh my God.
Like, yeah, that's right.
It was her nursing school ring, which she kept turned inward so you couldn't see the stone so that she wasn't banging it on.
All right.
So anyway, we dated. I proposed. She said yes. There was no begging involved. She said yes.
I just gotta say, it's a smooth line. I'd like to take you to breakfast if it's all right with your husband.
right?
Like, I kind of just want to pull that out, whether there's a ring in it or not.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
All right, anyway, yeah.
Anyway, so we met, we dated for a while. I proposed, and we decided to get married. She was a devout Catholic. I was raised in a Jewish household, and we decided and we found both a rabbi and a priest in the Washington, D.C. area who were willing to perform a joint ceremony,
Wow.
which was tougher than we thought.
Yes.
It turns out the two of them, 30 years earlier, had probably done the first joint wedding ceremony and hadn't seen each other in those 30 years until we asked them separately if they would marry us.
That's
And they did.
amazing.
Everything ties together somehow.
Oh my God.
Cosmic. That's amazing.
So we got married. I finished my training. We moved to Pennsylvania, and she got pregnant. And we know how that happened. And it turned out she was pregnant with twins. And so we had twin girls shortly after moving here to Pennsylvania. Then 16 months later, she had her second pregnancy, her third daughter. And we figured out what was going on, and we stopped doing that.
Oh my gosh.
So by the time she was diagnosed with her cancer, the girls were 13 and 14.
Wow.
And when she died, the twins had just recently passed their driver's license test. And I think she intrinsically knew that now they could help Dad with the getting to school, getting to after school activities. I don't have to worry as much about them being able to function as a family and do all the things that needed to be done. And so she died in October of 2006. The girls were 15 and 16 at the time. We were kind of adrift, and a good friend had mentioned Olivia's house in New York as not to get over the loss, but to learn how to live with it. And that was a distinction that really made a difference in all of our lives. We came for an interview. We met with the founder of Olivia's house, a wonderful, wonderful woman who said, we will set you up for one of our programs, which run 8 weeks, twice a week. And I foolishly thought that meant I would drop my kids off, pick them up in an hour for 8 weeks. The surprise was that the surviving adults were also expected to stay and have our own sessions. And I met some wonderful people in that group, many of whom I kept in touch with for several years. And I'd asked Leslie, who ran the program, said, why don't you have this Hearts Can Heal for the surviving adults? And she said, adults have their relationships. They have family and coworkers that they can talk to. Kids don't. There's all the counseling in school, but I think that's fluff. I don't think that really helps the kids. That's my opinion. And she was right. She said, you'll make connections with the adults, and you may stay with them and keep in touch for a while, and then you'll probably go your own ways when you've healed enough. And that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah.
In that 6 months leading up, Chuck, how did you manage with your daughters the grief that you were dealing with leading up to when you went into Hearts Can Heal?
The void that you mentioned.
Yeah, being adrift out there. How did you steer?
As I said at the very beginning, I found out who our friends were, both Susan and me, as a couple. I found out who Susan's friends were, and then I found out who were just Chuck's friends. And in that 6 months, which someone else had told me, they said, you will know who your friends are, because after 6 months, they will still be the ones who drop by, call you, send you an email, send you a card. All the rest will just go away. And you could have set a calendar at about 6 months and a day or two. My world of friends became very small and concentrated. They were some people that I never had expected would be that wonderful and that close and there for me, whereas the other 95, 97% of our friends just kind of went off and did their own thing. I think there's a discomfort of having to deal with someone who's lost a spouse. And most people can't or won't or don't know how to do that. And so in those 6 months, I utilized the people that were there to be friends. When our twins were born, go back to that, sometimes people say, do you need a night or a few hours just for you and Susan? We'll watch the girls for you. And we learned very quickly, take advantage of that, because it may only be offered that one time and never again. And it was sort of like that after Susan died. People said, if you need anything, just ask. And if you don't ask, you don't get anything. But if you ask, that may be the last time you ever hear from them, because they feel they have done what they needed to do and they have satisfied their commitment, if you will.
I say that often. I say they check a box. People just, they check a box saying, I supported this grieving friend of mine. It's why GoFundMe pages are so popular, because you make that donation, you get to check that box. You have supported this.
I have helped him and I don't need to do anything else.
Exactly.
It's all on him now.
Exactly. And I hear so many families saying, we don't want money. We don't need money. We didn't ask for it. Not everybody's saying that, but it's, and so, thank you for sharing your experience with that.
But yes, those first 6 months was a menagerie of people who offered once. I took advantage sometimes. We had more food, like you said, from people. We like to cook. We like to eat our own food. And so we accepted a lot. We also donated a lot of the food. We found our own way. And we got into a pattern. I went back to work the week after Susan died. Same thing at work. There were people that I never knew were going to be my friends to the degree that they were. And those that I thought were my friends, they made their 1 or 2 overtures, and then they were in the periphery. And so in those 6 months, I can't remember a whole lot about it, to be honest with you. We survived. Girls had some very close friends who helped them along, and some friends that didn't. And so they found their own way. So we got to the end of the 6 months. I got back in touch with Olivia's house, and we were encouraged and invited to join the 8-week program. The girls spent the evenings with a group of their peers, kids in the 10 to 15, 16-year-old age range who had lost a parent. And they met with some wonderful volunteers that are called companions. And they are indeed unpaid volunteers who are trained to help the kids learn how to deal with the grief. And like Vegas, what happened in session stayed in session unless the kids gave the companions permission to share it. I think it was the 6th of the 8th weeks. My youngest daughter, who had a very fractious relationship with each other, she was her mom's baby. And my youngest daughter and I used to clash horribly. And one evening, the sixth week, one of the companions came to me and she said, your youngest daughter gave me permission to share this with you. She wants you to know she loves you. That meant the world. I mean, here it is 20 years later. I'm tearing up.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think just that your openness and being able to revisit that time speaks so highly to the work that you did in your healing, because a lot of people, a lot of men are not able to access those moments or say, I don't want to talk about my first wife, or I don't want to even go there. So thank you for being so open. I will say that piece about some were our friends, some were her friends, that is going to be the reason I share this episode with folks, because that is so unbelievably relatable and so rarely talked about. And it is a huge ripple effect of loss for adults. We right now, not to date us, but Valentine's Day is in the air at the time that we're recording this. And that can be so excruciating when all of your couple friends are going about and are doing their routines and they think, we're not going to invite Chuck because that will just upset him this year. And then you end up being doubly hurt because you were excluded from something. And those moments where the coworkers show up and step in places where you might not have expected, or friends that came out of the woodwork, many times it's because those are people who have also experienced loss or had it touch their lives in a way where they get it and they're not afraid to look it in the face.
Well, the irony is that Susan and I got married on Valentine's Day. And we chose that for two reasons. Number one was the first year we were dating, I, being a man, thought that Valentine's Day is always the second Saturday in February.
Love that.
So I gave her a dozen roses at $80 a dozen because it's Valentine's week on the 13th. And she said, these are lovely. What's the occasion? I said, well, it's Valentine's Day. And she said, au contraire, Valentine's Day is the 14th. I said, no, Valentine's Day is always the second Saturday in February. And she said, again, au contraire. Yes. Valentine's Day is the 14th, and I'll expect another dozen roses tomorrow.
Oh, my gosh. I love Susan.
That was the last year she got 2 dozen roses on Valentine's Day.
Yes.
Oh,
That
man.
is so funny.
The other benefit was that it happened to fall on a Saturday like it does this year.
Wow.
And so for my ultra-Orthodox few Jewish relatives who can't drive on the Sabbath, they can attend a wedding after sundown on Saturday night. And for all of Susan's Catholic relatives, if we don't have to have the wedding on a Sunday, we don't have to have a full Mass. Therefore, Saturday night was perfect.
Perfect. Oh, I
Nice.
love
Thank you.
that. Wow. Okay.
So you had that moment with your daughter.
Yes.
You went through the program. How did you navigate the girls after that? And how was that relationship being dad with 3 girls?
I don't think the relationship changed a whole lot between my twins and me because we had a close relationship. As I said, our youngest, Carrie, was Susan's baby. And they had a bond from the moment she was born. And she got away with stuff that the twins never got away with. But Carrie was tough to get through. But when the twins were 16, therefore they were in their junior year of high school, they were off doing their things. Now they can drive, so they can help take Carrie where she needs to go. They can go where they need to go. I don't have to worry as much, I thought, as a single father. They knew through their mother's illness that I was on call at the hospital frequently and overnight. And so we developed, I thought, a reasonable expectation of honesty and availability and behavior. And then they went off to college. And that left Carrie and me solo together at home. And I think Olivia's house gave her the tools to realize that she had to communicate with me and vice versa. And I came home one day and she was in a snit. And I said, what's your problem? She said, well, I know I'm going to get blamed for everything now that Kristen and Aaron have gone off to college. I said, well, like, what do you mean? She said, well, I mean, if there's a dirty plate or a pot left on the stove, I know I'm going to get blamed now. I said, when I finish cooking our dinner, I wash the pots and pans and put them away, and the dishes go in the dishwasher. So if there's a dirty pot on the stove and dirty dishes in the sink, they are yours and you will get blamed. And I waited for the explosion, and she looked at me and I looked at her, and all of a sudden she went, well, that makes sense.
Love it.
That was the turning point.
Unbelievable.
It was. It really was. It was like, okay, Dad's not out to get me.
Yep.
And I was coming from the point of view of, we got to get this out in the open because I'm not going to walk on eggshells for the next year while you're home with me. And to this day, we are very close. She is the mother of our 2 grandchildren. I say our because I did get remarried, but she is the daughter of our 2 grandchildren. And she treats my second wife, Tammy, as the kid's grandmother. And the first thing she asked her when she got pregnant with the first, she called her up and said, what do you want to be called?
Oh.
because that's a very important thing for a grandmother.
Mhm.
You know, some want to be granny, some want to be grandma, gram. Tammy is Mimi.
Oh, and what
Love
are
it.
you?
I'm Grandpa Chuck.
Love
So you got remarried.
I did get remarried.
How did the dating go?
Well, that first year after Susan died, the girls very quickly got back into their social routine, which I encouraged because it gave them support. And I noticed that every Friday night, they were going out with friends, and Dad was home doing the laundry, washing, drying, folding, bringing up to their room so they can put it away. And after a year of that, I said, okay, this is not sustainable. I need to have some adult conversation, adult relationships. There was a wonderful nurse anesthetist who was working with our department at the hospital, and I knew her as an honest, lovely person, and she always did the right thing. No one had to tell her how to be a good person. And that was very attractive to me. It also was very attractive that she was a pretty woman and just a pretty soul. And I asked her out, and she cut me down. She said, I don't date people I work with. I don't date doctors, and I'm not dating you. I said, well, how about if we don't make it a date? I know that you're single. You live with your four-legged son, and you have to eat. So why don't we just go out and eat dinner together? Well, I'm a vegetarian. I know you like to eat everything. I said, okay, we can find a restaurant that has vegetarian food. And so I wore her down. It took months to get her to agree to go out to dinner. And we drove to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 35, 40 miles north of here, because they had a wonderful Indian restaurant. Indian food, most of it can be made vegetarian, and it's excellent. And so we walked in 35 miles from home to have dinner, and who should walk in but one of my associates with a woman who was not his wife. Oh, we said.
Oh, gosh.
And we didn't see him, and he didn't see us.
Love drama on the first date.
And nothing was said ever by either of us. Not that we were trying to hide our dating or our dinner,
Sure.
but it's nobody else's business. Right. And so we did go out to dinner a few more times, and we took many, many walks with her dog because he needed to walk 3 to 5 miles a day, several times a day, and developed a nice relationship. And we started dating, and it was different. I hadn't dated in over 20 years. My first wife wouldn't allow me to date anyone. And so I showed up at her house with roses and some chocolate and a 6-foot-long rawhide bone for her dog, not knowing that rawhide gave him the runs.
Oh, no. Oh, my
It
gosh.
wasn't intentional.
Oh, my gosh. Well, let's switch gears here to finish us off, Chuck. Give us a piece of wisdom. What would you say to other dads that are out there, whether they're facing this for the first time, whether they have 3 girls at home and they don't know what to do? What would be your wisdom or advice to a dad going through grief?
Grief is going to be there, and it's going to be there for a while. I still talk about Susan. My current wife, Tammy, has always said that she sees Susan's pictures around the house because I didn't take them down. We keep in touch with Susan's family, and that's her sisters and her brother and her parents. Her father actually just died a few weeks ago. We embrace the fact that we've had 2 lives, basically. I had my life with Susan. It was good. It gave us a wonderful family. We now have an even larger family because Tammy's sisters and Susan's sisters and brother and my kids and the nephews and nieces, we do get together. Not often because we're all over the place, but we do get together. It was a sense of loss, but it wasn't a divorce. There was no acrimony there. I still think about her. I still love her. I miss her. Tammy is not a substitute. Tammy is her own person, and we have our own life and our own relationship. And she has said often that she wished she had an opportunity to meet Susan because she hears such wonderful things about her. And I remind her that a man's second wife and his first wife should probably never meet.
Ha! There's your wisdom. I love it.
There's my wisdom. No, the grief is there, and the grief takes time. And anyone who says that by X number of months after you've lost your spouse that you should be moving on is full of crap. There comes a time where you crave connection, where you need the connection. And if you're fortunate enough to find somebody, as I did, that makes your life so much fuller. And I have no regrets. I mean, people say, well, do you miss your first wife? Why did you dishonor her by getting married? I said, it's not a dishonor. God's sake. One of the things she and her father said to me was, don't go through your life alone. Meet someone who loves you, and that person will by default love the kids as well. But love that person. Don't just find somebody. Find somebody you love. I mean, they said that both of them separately. And so I felt that I had their permission, if you will. Not their
Say you
blessing.
absolutely were honoring her.
Yes, to continue my life and to find someone to share it with. And I love Susan. I love Tammy, my girls. I love them to pieces. They are adults now. And we still talk about Mom. And we talk about some of the things she did and said and her mannerisms because they are a product of her.
Thank you so much. Well, we have a tradition that we do at the end of every episode where we like to cheers to your person. So on the count of 3, we will cheers to Susan. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. To Susan. All right, Chuck, thank you so much for being here with us. We will be right back on Guess Who Died?
Guess Who Died is brought to you by Olivia's House, a grief and loss center for children. Olivia's House is a community-funded organization that provides comfort and education to families when they need it most, and we are able to keep our doors open thanks to donations from people just like you. Find out ways to support or get support from Olivia's House by visiting www.oliviashouse.org.
Welcome back to Guess Who Died? Oh, Chuck is full of stories. He is one of those people that could just tell stories all day. I love people like that.
And right out of the gate, the story of how he asked his late wife to dinner. It's like if your
Breakfast.
husband, if your husband
doesn't mind, I'm going to be using that line on everyone I ask anywhere for the next month. I love it.
Yeah, and that was, I mean, right out of the gate, that showed the kind of person he was.
incredible.
He's fun.
It's almost, when you think about it, though, like, and we talk about pop culture at the top of the show, it's a storybook, right? It's a storybook love. It's this moment. You can see that's on How I Met Your Mother, that story, and how that worked. And just this beautiful, like, build in life, and then to have that huge loss.
Someone that he loved so much. Yeah. And just, I mean, the talk, and again, not to date us in time, but with Valentine's Day and their anniversary would have been his and Susan's anniversary. I mean, that is so real. And I hear that constantly from folks. And even in a divorce, really, of whose friends are who's going to stick with you and who is checking up on you regularly. And those people do that out of care and compassion versus just feeling like you have to check that box.
Well, and I think the other part of that, Julia, is, and we've seen this, sometimes people just are afraid. And that glimpse of mortality and reality is a lot, even for a married couple. And so rather than facing that and saying, wow, I can't imagine, they just kind of slink away into the shadows. It's not that it's ill will. It's not, they just don't know how.
100%.
When you're used to somebody, and he talked about the friends of both of us, and then it's like, okay, let's all go out, but it's going to be weird because it's just the 3 of us. And then being uncomfortable scares people, and some people just don't like to be uncomfortable. And I'm trying to think if that, because my mom and stepdad had a lot of close friends together, and there was only a couple of his friends that they all hung out together with that stayed in touch with her. And then she wasn't as, going out as socially as she used to, but I was just trying to put my brain around that. And I did see that happen. And it's a shame, but I get why people, they just don't want to be uncomfortable or know what to say.
So I guess just for anyone who's listening, who's trying to support someone or has someone in your world, just reaching out. It's all it takes, a text message, just a, hey, I'm thinking about you, whatever I can do. It's huge. It's immense.
It means a lot. It really does.
Absolutely. It's always my advice is if someone in your world has lost someone, you put a calendar notification in your phone 6 weeks, 6 months from now to check in on them and then follow through with it.
Another thing that I thought was just so beautifully said by Chuck in his section here is that dating didn't take away that his second marriage, Tammy, did not take away from his love of his first wife and how beautiful that was. I've known Chuck for many years, and that's always been the case. He remembers her regularly and often. But again, so does Tammy. Tammy, honors Susan in so many ways. And I think that's just beautiful when souls can meet in that way.
Agreed.
He said she wishes she could meet her. And I humbly and genuinely believe it's so that she could thank her, because she helped to create an incredible man and an incredible children.
I love how they put both families together.
Yes.
I know.
Susan's family still comes around. That's
Yes.
huge.
Very cool. All right. So we hope anyone out there listening just knows that there is life ahead. Good things to happen. Chuck said at the beginning, wonderful is part of the experience too,
Yes.
even where you don't expect it. So
Yes.
thank you, Chuck, to Susan. Thank you, everyone. And we will see you next time on Guess Who Died? Guess Who Died is an Olivia's House production, sponsored in part by the M&M Lissauer Family Foundation.